Moving forward to our first panel discussion, India 2030 Emerging Sectors.
When we say India at 2030, some imagine bullet trains at every station.
And others just hope government portals will finally load in one click.
2030 isn't far away. It's a future waiting to be shaped, and professionals like us will play a big role in it.
Let's hear from those who are building that future already. May I request our panelists, Mr. Raj Sethia, Mr. Adrit Pal Chaudhary, CAR Venkatesh, and our moderator, Mr. Shailesh Sharaf, to join us on the dais for the next session.
Can we have a round of applause to welcome the dignitaries on the dais? Shailesh, sir.
He'll join.
Till the time we have Shailesh sir here, may I invite CA Mohit Bhuteria, Joint Secretary ACAE, on stage to introduce the speakers. And also request past presidents, CA Anand Chopra ji, CA Jinesh S. Vanzara ji, Advocate Arvind Agarwal ji, and CA Sanjay Bhattacharya ji to please come forward and present the memento to our speakers for the session.
Very good morning to all of you. I have to Mr. Raj Sethia, one of the panelists. He is the founder of Mr. Raj Sethia, founder of Mounted Growth Fund Kavach. He has championed India's defense and space ecosystem, and today he'll share insights on how these sectors drive strategy autonomy for the nation. May I request Anand Chopra ji, our past president, to present a memento and 65 years AC mug to our next panelist, Mr. Adrit Pal Chaudhary, is the Vice President Strategy at CSC Renewables. He brings over 3 decades in energy, and he'll speak on the critical role of clean and renewable energy in powering India's 2030 vision.
CA Jinesh S. Vanzara ji.
Mr. R. Venkatesh, Group CEO of Narayana Health, one of the India's largest hospital chains. He has transformed healthcare delivery. He will discuss how the healthcare sector is reshaping opportunities for India's growth.
Advocate Arvind Agarwal ji.
We have Mr. Shailesh Sharaf as our moderator. He is the Managing Director of Dynamic Equities, a veteran investor and a strategist, and he'll guide us through this panel on emerging sectors.
CA Sanjay Bhattacharya ji. Friends, since we are running short of time, we request the panel to please complete the session by 12:45. Thank you.
Namaste friends. Teen sector, we are very bullish in the next 5 to 10 years. And we have some eminent panelists जो हमें इन 3 सेक्टर के बारे में बताएंगे. These 3 sectors I feel is very good for entrepreneurs, whoever wants to enter new businesses, or if they feel that if they're already in the existing business, it will really help them to grow. It is also good for investors. Okay? So the 3 emerging sectors which I feel will be very good in the next 5 to 10 years is definitely, one is defense. सभी लोग जानते हैं कि defense is a big requirement. The way global wars are going on, defense is a very important part, and the India and the Indian government is playing a very big role in defense. So we have Mr. Raj, who will talk about defense. And then the other sector, which is very important because the current electricity demand in the country is so high, and everybody knows that we have to shift to renewable energies. हमें solar और हमें wind में जाना है. So we have Mr. Adrit from Calcutta Electric Supply, he will share us what are the potential opportunities in this sector. Then we have Mr. Venkatesh. He will talk us about hospitals. You know, hospitals is a very big requirement today because of the physical needs of people. So what are the growths? What is the possibility of growth in the hospital sector? So we have 45 minutes and we'll take 15 minutes with each panelist and try to understand that what is the potential of growth in these sectors. Are you interested? Yes, no? Okay, so we'll start with defense. Abhi India mein defense is a very big need. We had a recent spat with India and Pakistan. Everybody knows there is a Israel and war going on. Then there is a Russia-Ukraine war going on. There a lot of things are happening in the defense sector. So, Raji, can you please tell us the opportunities in defense in the next 5 years, 10 years, if you can share your views on defense. What are the opportunities? How does it grow? What is your views on defense in the next 5 to 10 years?
Sure. Thank you, Shailesh-ji, for inviting me over, and thank you to ACAI for having me over. Really a privilege to talk to such wonderful set of professionals. Just to go back a little bit, I come from a perspective that defense and aerospace, when you talk about the industry, it has way wider connotation than what you normally assume. Because the way the contours of warfare or aggression or defending your borders has changed, you are at war in multiple ways and every day. It's no longer about border skirmishes. It's also about cyber security. It's also about people weaponizing trade, like you see in the world. It's also about people weaponizing critical mineral supply, like you saw in EV motors that China did first to the US and to India. Then they're opening up a little bit. So if you allow me, I'll take a little broader perspective, but I'll cover the specific areas of defense and aerospace like people understand.
Please, please.
Fundamentally, if you see, the world is seeing two major meta trends that are impacting, the flow of money, capital, and resources in favor of defense and aerospace. The first and the single largest meta trend is the geopolitical shift. The way the world is realigning, the way world post-World War II alignments are reshaping themselves. And the second one is technology disruptions that have happened over the last 15, 20 years, and at the speed at which technology is changing. I mean, virtually across board. You look at AI, you look at optoelectronics, you look at photonics, you look at autonomy, you look at every possible technology that is leapfrogging because they're helping each other leapfrog. Fundamentally, if you see the history of the world, people who have ruled the world, whether it was Britishers or Romans way back, or even Cholas down south, people who had the best technology ruled the world. And hence the fight between China and the US and Europe trying to catch up to gain supremacy. And this is where India's role also comes in. If India needs to grow economically at 7% at a secular pace for 7, 8 decades, not even years, I mean, next 25, 30, 40 years, we don't have a choice but to have critical technologies being homegrown, home-controlled, and strategic autonomy achieved in these areas. I was reading a tweet this morning, and somebody said, what if US mandated, after yesterday's dinner with all the tech giants, that iOS and Android is shut down for India? Of course, far-fetched, but you can imagine the impact it can have. Is it bigger than a war? Of course it is. End of the day, war causes huge human and economic impact. If you leave aside the human part, economic impact could be even larger than what you can imagine through a war. And hence it becomes very critical for a country like India to create what we call Atmanirbharta, especially in critical technology. Hence the segue into defense and aerospace. We as a fund, when we look at investments in this area, we look at defense in a broader perspective. It's defense in aerospace, space, semiconductors, critical minerals and materials, cyber security, and critical communications. All of these can be weaponized. So I'll take a little broader perspective with your permission.
Yes, please, please.
And just to build on that, I'm conscious of the fact that we need to cut it short by 20 minutes. Other than the two meta trends, the three things that are working very favorably for India. One, the sheer size of our market and economic growth makes us a very conducive place to build these technologies. Second, the capabilities. Capabilities that India has, we can pretty much be in top 3, top 5 in a lot of these technologies. We already are in space and AI and in so many areas. Third, the policy support that you're seeing from the government makes it very, very conducive for this industry to have a very long bull run. Having said that, most of the value is in futuristic companies, which essentially means that value is currently captured in the private space, like it happened in Googles of the world 20 years back. Eventually, they went public, and now they've replaced all top 10 companies in every stock exchange. Net opportunity is huge, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're an innovator, you're a scientist, you're an investor, passive, active, you're an industrialist, you're an MSME. Depending on what you do and what you want to do, opportunity is huge, driven essentially by the trifecta of what I said, capabilities, potential, and the macro factors, geopolitical and macro. Happy to answer follow-on questions.
So, what is the opportunity for investors in the defense sector? What do you think are the opportunities for investors? You know, if people or entrepreneurs, what do you think are the opportunities for them?
Okay, so you're talking about, let me break this down into a financial investor opportunity.
Because you are managing a fund also. So if you want to share something about your fund, and then what are the opportunities if people go into investment in defense sector?
Sure, I'll try to keep this a little more neutral. Don't want to be a sales pitch for the fund.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Okay, depending on, if you're an industrialist, with a large industrial, organization. I mean, you're running a large company, or even in a medium-sized large company, medium to large size of a company. There are enough and more people who are now looking at diversification based upon their core competencies. If you're a very good precision engineering company doing automobile components, it's very easy to think of 8, 10, 12 things that you can do, ride on the tailwinds that the government offers, privatization, local sourcing, ability for Indian companies to be a part of larger ecosystem, because foreign manufacturers like Rafale or anybody coming in, they have to have a localization, commitment to meet, and so on and so forth. Same is also true for medium and small industries. If you're an innovator with technical background who wants to create and develop products, then you have huge number of opportunities, because there's a fair amount of support from the government where they define the problem statements, give you grants up to 25 crores, and we have invested in some of these companies, so I know very, very closely. And then once you achieve the product milestones, they give you at least 4 to 8x worth of MOQs. After that, of course, you have to sustain yourself. To give an example, we invested in a company which is doing underwater robotics out of Odisha, from an engineering college in Odisha. We entered reasonably early, and this month they got their grant converted to an order of 80 crores for over 2.5 years. Now that is sustainable enough for the company to raise loans, scale up, explore new markets, and then grow. So these are the kind of stories that are emerging, and that will continue to emerge. So from an entrepreneur's perspective, that's an example. as an investor, you have listed space. Unfortunately, you don't have a lot of companies you can invest in. You have a lot of defense public sector units and a few success stories. But the demand-supply gap is so huge that the valuations have gone so high that long-term alpha potential is limited in our opinion. The value is currently lying in private sector. And again, it almost sounds like I'm making a pitch for a VC fund, but that's where we see the opportunity. Most of the value lies in private sector, but that requires a certain set of capabilities to be able to select, because you can't bet on one or two companies because these are high-risk bets. So you have to create a portfolio.
What about artificial intelligence in defense? What about drone technology? Because right now I'm seeing all the wars are happening through drones.
Yes.
जब इंडिया पाकिस्तान का वॉर हुआ था, अचानक मालूम पड़ा 500 ड्रोन पाकिस्तान से इंडिया में आ रहा है. So what about drone technology? Can you share something about drones? What's happening in the defense space in drone?
Sure.
What's happening in the artificial intelligence? Because that will give us the future outlook related to defense.
Sure, sure. When we build our thesis, we don't see AI as a vertical, because AI is so pervasive and so embedded in virtually everything that AI is virtually a horizontal, which means it cuts across, whether you talk about semiconductors, you talk about cyber security, you cut across, you go to drones, autonomy, defense, electronics, everything is AI. So AI is very foundational, very fundamental. It's impacting our lives. It's impacting how we behave every day. How do you work? And it's a part of defense. There's absolutely no denial. Your second point on drones, the way some of us see and industry see, we focus on is there's a larger context of autonomy. I mean, autonomous vehicles. So drones of the nature that you see and hear, which are flying, are one kind of autonomous vehicles, right? Autonomous vehicles works underwater, on surface of the water, on land, in air, and very high air, which is near space, pseudo-satellite levels. So we'll look at all these spaces. We have already made investment in one underwater robotics company. We're looking at a few drone options of the kind that you see. But the challenge that you have in India today is in traditional drone, because entry barriers are low. So you have like 700 drone companies in India. Very, very hard to pick which one will survive. Only 20 will survive. There are companies that have done well. IdeaForge, there's a company called Rafe, private company. Recently got a General Catalyst $100 million investment at a valuation of $900 million with just a revenue of 80 crores. So that's the kind of potential that is there. So yes. Then other than that, you have areas like advanced electronics. You have areas like critical materials. How do you make the drone body or the aircraft body lightweight through composites? There are quite a few areas, but you're absolutely right. Autonomous vehicles, whether flying or underwater or swimming or floating on the surface, that would be a very, very big area. Most of the warfare will now happen beyond visual sight. So which essentially means that, your AI layer and either somebody controls it remotely or the vehicle or the, let's say, bird, like they popularly call the flying, the drones, have the capability to intelligently judge what to do and act on its own based upon the scenario. So huge area, but there are layers and layers. And you will see a lot of consolidation happening. You'll have to see a lot of failures happening. So you already are seeing there's one listed company called IdeaForge going through a little bit of a rough weather, but fantastic company, and it will sooner or later find a
Zen
place.
Technologies also is one of the areas in drones.
So they Zen, if I remember right, they have very strong stack for simulation.
Okay.
But see, a lot of them are interrelated.
Okay. And what about space defense? Because any idea on, say, if you want to share some idea on space defense, something is happening in the space, because I didn't know that there is something called space defense.
That's right.
I had
that's
no
right.
knowledge.
So
if
now
you can share with people, there is something called space defense. वो क्या होता है, अगर if you can share what is space defense?
Yeah, that's the fourth theater command. Now everybody is talking beyond air, land, and water, which is Army, Air Force, Navy. which is Space Command, and all countries, not all countries, but countries that are capable. India is one of them, fortunately. We're building that capability. Space has been there for the last 35, 40 years, and we've all heard about, space satellites for the defense purposes. It's become more ubiquitous because the technology around compute, transmission, image sensing, and everything has dramatically changed. Post Elon Musk, launch costs are much lower. Miniaturization happened on the satellites. So the biggest use case is in surveillance. The quality of surveillance you can do right to the last meter from thousands of kilometers above at a speed of 28,000 kilometers per hour, it's absolutely mind-blowing. So surveillance is very, very important. And the surveillance allows intelligence to pass on for you to take action. So all the action that you see, where you see Israel or US being able to bomb a particular house through a particular window, knowing where exactly the bedroom is all because of a mix of technologies being used from space to ground sensors. So, but space, just to build on that, space you should not be seeing only from defense angle, because space is a classic use, which is what we as investors also like.
Yeah.
A classic use where you have huge commercial use. We have invested in a company called Galaxy, which has a huge, they can provide 24/7 images, which you can't otherwise get unless you, okay, just to broadly speak, if you have these cameras on your satellites, watching a space, let's say a part of Indian Ocean where you want to watch, and the weather is cloudy, which is 70% of the time in India, Indian zone, you will not get good images. It's like any other camera. You'll not get images through fog and cloud. You use radar because that penetrates the cloud cover. But when you take radar images, those are not good quality images. So they are building something unique, which is blending the two using artificial intelligence, computing at the satellite level itself, and then transmitting the refined image. Now that has a use as much in defense as in shrimp culture or aquaculture, because aquaculture farms, the feed or the crop can go bad in 7 days if you don't really understand what's going wrong, whether the acidic level of the pond is high or low. That has an impact on insurance, that has an impact on feed companies like Godrej and ITC that provides feed for shrimps. Huge impact. But the technology, same technology has such diverse use cases. So space, I don't know if you read, some of you may have read, Prime Minister Modi said, in 5 years we'll have 5 unicorns from space industry. Yeah. And he's not wrong. The challenge is how do you find those?
So what are the policy initiatives government is taking? Ye jo unicorns banenge, all these unicorns which will become. So what is the government doing to make these unicorns?
Should I talk about space or defense?
Defense, especially on the defense side, not the space.
See, on the
but
policy,
the government policy initiatives, because the government has to support defense, because that is controlled by the government.
True.
So what is the government policy initiatives which you will share with everyone, so they know that government bhi bahut is area mein, defense area mein, they are doing a lot. So if you can share some ideas on what is the policy initiatives.
Happened over the last 7-8 years. There was a fair amount of resistance, but now things are beginning to fall in place quite a bit. And we believed we reached the stage where it was irreversible, so we could bring in risk capital also in this space. First and foremost, government has opened up the private sector, which wasn't the case. I'll just ask a quiz question for the audience. In India, 100% of defense manufacturing was government, and we all know that.
Yes.
What do you think is the percentage in the US? Any guesses?
That's a very good question. I also don't know.
Any random guesses?
So his question is, US, India में पहले 100%
US manufacturing का कितना हिस्सा private sector में है और public government sector में है? Out of 100%. 0%. Everything is private. India, of course, can't reach there, and we don't have that pathway. But so that's how the world's leading defense exporter is designed. Okay. So India clearly knows that you're no longer working in an era where you had legacy systems of T-72 tanks going on for 40 years, MiGs that got retired at 60-year-old platforms. Everything is changing in 3 years, and that innovation cannot happen through PSUs that work on technology transfer and just replicating it again and again, and with minor upgrades every 5, 7, 8, 10 years. You've seen Tejas, fantastic LCA program, 10 years delayed. So they are clear that private sector has to come in. Private sector will have multiple layers. You'll have large primes, whether it's Tatas or Adanis, Ambanis, Bharat Forge, Mahindras of the world. Then you'll have a layer of companies which will supply components like auto component industries. And a lot of them will be innovation companies, which will be startups, which will create proprietary subsystems to feed into the system. They may or may not directly be selling to the defense. So that's the ecosystem government is trying to develop. So one layer is innovation. Second layer is enabling MSMEs. A lot of these innovative companies become MSMEs and eventually large companies. The third is aggregation level, where large enterprises who have contract management skills, like Adani Defense or L&T Defense or Godrej Aerospace, they put together larger systems, more like system integrators, much like what Infosys does for IT. So there's a clear pathway for all these layers to feed into each other and strive. Innovation happens in labs, in IITs and ISCs. They need to attract talent from overseas, because a lot of our people are actually working for big defense companies overseas, but they don't have opportunities here. Nobody wants to come here and work for it. With due respect, let's say a DRDO lab, because the money is not good, culture is not as good as what they get elsewhere. So there's a fair amount of work and investment happening to build academic institutes, and this I can tell you because we have about 25 partnerships in India with academic institutes. IIT Madras is a leading one, IIT Bombay. We've invested in a company run by IIT Bombay professor, where academia, government and industry interface is being strengthened and being funded, number one. Number two, in defense, now foreign direct investment is 74%, which is a big move. Number three, if you're an innovator today, you can apply for challenges where government defines what they want you to solve for and assures you an MOQ if you succeed. Is it hassle-free? No, it is not. Has it not given pains to a lot of companies because of bureaucracy? It has. But defense acquisition has come down from 5 to 7 years cycle, by which time all startups die if they don't have a visibility, to around 2 years, which itself is a big progress. But now the government has to bring it down further so that innovation is not outdated by the time you reach the market.
So can we have a big hand for Raji for sharing his knowledge on defense? Now I'll try to ask questions one by one so that we can have some understanding on the hospital sector and the renewable sector.
And Shailesh, just to conclude, I'm available post the meeting if people have queries. This is a subject very, very close to my heart. It's something which, we all of us at MGF Kavach drive more through passion. Mohit is one of our early supporters as an investor as well. So thank you for inviting me, and happy to answer questions on the side.
So anybody has questions after the session, you can please ask him one-to-one. Okay? Now shall we go to renewable space? Yes, space bhi bahut hi interesting hai, friends. This is a very interesting space, the solar space, the wind space, and we have Vice President, Calcutta Electric Supply, Mr. Adrit is here. Adrit ji, my first question to you, please share what is the scope of solar, wind in the next 5-10 years, and how the power sector is changing from non-renewable to renewable. So we'll be very grateful if you can share your thoughts on this.
Thank you, Shailesh ji. And thanks to ACAE for having me here as a sectoral panelist. First I would start by saying that, India has done a commendable job in ramping up the renewable capacity in the last decade or so. We were somewhere around 40 gigawatts in 2015, and today we are almost 187 gigawatts of renewable energy out of a total of 490 or 500 gigawatts of installed capacity. So renewable energy was almost 12% of the total installed capacity in 2015. Today it's almost 38%. This is purely if you talk about solar and wind, but if we talk about include other non-fossil fuel based sources, such as large hydro and nuclear, we have last month reached 50% of the installed capacity through non-fossil fuel based. So it's 50% thermal, 50% renewable or non-fossil fuel based energy. So that's a fantastic job which our country had done. We should be proud of it. We are third or fourth in the entire world as far as the installed renewable capacities are concerned. Going forward, India committed couple of targets by 2030 under the United Nations Forum for Climate Change, COP26 in Glasgow. India committed that 500 gigawatts of renewable capacity, non-fossil fuel capacity would be installed by 2030. We are 250 now almost, so another 250 megawatts in next 5 years. And 50% of our energy requirements would be met by, again, non-fossil fuel. And now, today we are meeting about 30% of the energy requirements from non-fossil fuel based, another 20% is required. So this is a tall target, no doubt, but the policies are well in place. And government is definitely looking forward to, meeting this target. Of course, for meeting this tall targets, policy initiatives are required, enablers are required, and government has come up with lot of fiscal policies like incentives and schemes, subsidy schemes, like PM Surya Ghar Yojana for rooftop, then you have FAME scheme for EVs, you have hydrogen policies for green hydrogen, and then there are the renewable purchase obligations and renewable consumption obligations, wherein the procuring agencies, which is the state discoms, have to procure certain portion of their energy requirements mandatorily from renewable sources. So such policies and incentives have come up. Government is spending a lot on developing the entire grid infrastructure, coming up with dedicated green energy corridor for evacuation of renewable energy. So a lot of policy initiatives and regulatory mechanisms are in place to achieve this tall order of 500 gigawatts in next 5 years.
Thank you, Aditji. And also, the hospital sector is also really amazing. So we have been investing in the hospital stocks, and it has shown great returns. So I would like Mr. Venkatesh to please share about what is the growth of hospital sector, what is your view on hospital sector in the next 5 years. So Mr. Venkatesh, if you can share your thoughts on, and then again go back to Adritji, so we'll rotate.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hospital industry or healthcare industry, as you say, is reasonably settled when it comes to the metropolitan cities, tier 1 cities. But when you look at equitable distribution of healthcare in tier 3 cities or in the rural areas, we don't have that much of presence or penetration of healthcare around this sector. So what eventually happens is there are a lot of factors which needs to be taken into consideration to make sure that healthcare is equitably distributed across different terrains and different territories to make sure that there is enough growth in the next 5 to 10 years. So typically, if you look at how you're doing in healthcare, there are several factors which actually govern how we grow in healthcare and how the future is decided in terms of healthcare. One important factor is doctors. These are the most important asset for any healthcare organization, and doesn't run without them. Everyone else is basically facilitating the work. So India produces the maximum number of medical graduates in the world. In fact, one of the research studies of Harvard says that Americans treated by Indian doctors live longer than American treated by American doctors. That's the power of doctors in India. But the biggest challenge which we have here is the number of postgraduate seats are much lower than the undergraduate seats. And as a result of that, when you enter into as a medical graduate and you clear the undergraduate, because the competition is so much to get into the postgraduate, people end up sitting and studying at home to crack the PG, or they go to foreign countries to look at international opportunities. So how do we sort out these issues? The issues there basically is that if you look at some ways, one is the government needs to increase PG seats. Second is if there is some form of incentives which can be given to these doctors to say that you go into the rural areas and serve, you will get an auto entry into the PG or some incentivization to have preferential entry into the PG. That's one important area which you need to look at when you look at growth in healthcare, in hospitals. Second most important thing is the insurance. We have good insurance programs across the country, central and state level. For example, in center, we have Ayushman Bharat, which is doing across the country very well. You have state level insurance, including in Bengal, you have Swasthya Sathi scheme. In Jaipur, in Rajasthan, you have the Rajasthan health scheme. But what is more important is these schemes currently are more diverted towards private healthcare providers and not into the government hospitals. If these schemes are diverted more into government hospitals, what happens is patients taking treatment in government setup, when they get discharged, these insurance providers do the reimbursement for these government setups. Then what happens is that money which forms the corpus can be used for investment in equipments in government setup, incentivizing the doctors, improving the infrastructure, creating growth in government setup, which helps expanding the healthcare across the rural areas, because government setups are equally important there. And third most important thing is policies, which is like today, if you look at policy, today we only spend 1.9% of our GDP in healthcare. Whereas in US, if you see, it's 14%, and in European Union, it's around 10%. We need to take these baby steps to move from 1.9 to around 2.5 and then get into 3 over a period of time. That is a target for 2030. A lot of things which I have said will play a very important role for us to get into that level. Today, we have only 1.3 beds per 1,000 people. And when it comes to government hospitals, they only serve around 0.79 beds per 1,000 people. And the WHO standard is 3 beds per 1,000 people. That's a minimum. So if you have to reach that, there's a lot of work around it. We can keep talking throughout the day, but essential points is what I've already mentioned. There are a lot of things which we need to do in healthcare to make sure that we have equitable coverage of healthcare across the country without any type of discrimination.
Thank you. So Aditi, I have a question for you. If you can talk of the policy initiatives government is taking, number one. And number two is, very importantly is, if you can speak about the different renewable energies, the green hydrogen, what is happening with the nuclear energy, something about. So if you can share that, what are the different renewable energies government is taking policy initiatives with?
Yeah, sure. First of all, the different renewable energies which are now commercially being used across the world or India is primarily the solar, which is quite mature now, wind energy, which again is a mature technology and had been in India for last 15 years or so. Then we are slowly moving into the green hydrogen space, wherein the production of hydrogen is through the power required for producing hydrogen is from green energy, either solar or wind. And we are also looking at storage solutions, which is battery energy storage solution or the pumped hydro storage solutions for augmenting the solar and wind energy. A lot of work is going on bioenergy also, waste to energy. So these are the primarily the major sources of renewable energy. Other than that, of course, the large hydros and nuclears are there, which comes under the overall umbrella of non-fossil fuel based energy. But when we talk of renewable energy, solar, wind, biomass, and small hydros are covered in that. So in terms of policies, the solar, for solar policies, we have, as I said, the Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Yojana, wherein the government gives incentives to all households for installing rooftop solar panels at the top of their houses. Then there is PM Kusum Yojana, which is primarily for solarization of the agricultural feeders at the agricultural level. Then we have, as I said, the renewable purchase obligation, renewable consumption obligations. We have a national hydrogen policy, which has been announced last year, wherein the government gives the funds for setting up of hydrogen plants, which is called VGF, viability gap funding. We have PLI scheme for the manufacturing of special solar cells and battery systems. It's called performance linked incentives, which is given by the government for boosting of the domestic manufacturing so that we don't have to depend upon imports. And so on and so forth. In wind, again, we have special policies for, importing certain critical wind components. The customs duties are waived off. The reduction in GST recently from 12% to 5% will give a major boost to the renewable energy sector.
Thank you, Aditji. Mr. Venkatesh, I have a question on, there was a Supreme Court ruling on hospitals, billing के ऊपर, क्योंकि हम लोग जब भी hospital जाते हैं, billing का issue हरदम रहता है. So there is a Supreme Court ruling on billings, patient rights. So if we can share that, वो कब implement होगा, or hospitals will become more transparent and more friendly towards the patient. If you can share something on that.
Before that, I'll just put in one point. हम लोग आइनॉक्स में मूवी देखने जाते हैं तो कम से कम 5,000 रुपये खर्चा करते हैं 2 आदमी जाने से. हम लोग शॉपिंग मॉल में जाके शॉपिंग करते हैं, कोई बॉदर नहीं करते. रेस्टोरेंट में जाके 2 घंटे में 10,000 रुपये खर्चा करके आते हैं. बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू हेल्थ केयर, हम 1 रुपये भी खर्चा नहीं करना चाहते हैं. पीपल फील दैट इट कम्स फॉर फ्री और वी आर नॉट रियली प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर इट. दैट्स द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम. द कवरेज, द अवेयरनेस, इंश्योरेंस इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. We don't even bother because healthcare kharcha is always secondary. Everything else becomes primary. So that's the mindset which we need to change first. And second is modern day consumers obviously need everything very informed. They want the right product, the right services with the right reviews and at the right price. It's modern day, it's a world of instant gratification. That's how I can say that. So that's why these strong mobile apps like this Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Amazon, Zomato, they're doing so well in terms of transparency, opening up in terms of what best products they can have with best services, best reviews, best prices. So it helps someone to take an informed decision in terms of purchases. Healthcare also has to come up in the same way. There's no other way out here. You have to have very clear platforms where you can demonstrate what are the right services available at the right prices and of course the right reviews, which are the doctors who are the best for certain procedures, what is the quality of outcomes after the doctor does the procedure. This is a very open thing and the hospitals have to inculcate this, otherwise they can't survive. See, a lot of these startups which have come, like Hexa, Pristine, Practo, Cloud Physician, these are all healthcare providers in startup which have completely kind of disrupted the healthcare market in terms of forcing the healthcare providers to be more digitally agile in future. Healthcare has to get into that mold. But I'll tell you, more said it is a very capital intensive industry with so much of equipments we import in foreign currency and very expensive. And we know how the currencies fluctuate, and that actually essentially leads to bleeding and so much of losses. That's a very cost heavy initiative. Second is it's a labor intensive industry with huge manpower. You need at least 6 persons per bed in a hospital. So if it is a 600 bedded hospital, it needs 3,500 people to work. It's such a labor intensive industry. Third is there are a lot of quality control initiatives, a lot of accreditations you need to look at for big hospitals, because India is a medical tourism destination. So it involves a lot of cost. Then this industry subsidizes a lot. See, 35% of the patients are coming through schemes, state schemes, Ayushman Bharat, which are very low in terms of price points. And when it comes to receivables, huge DSO, outstanding, payable, putting a lot of load on cash flow. So when the government has to take the, whatever initiatives, or whatever decisions you take in terms of pricing, capping, we need to take all these things together into perspective before we take a decision. All in all, I would say transparency, clarity in terms of billing is something which is of utmost importance in hospitals, and I have said they have to gear up to reach this level sooner than later.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I would give every panelist 1 minute to share your most important thing in defense, Raji. If you want to share one thing with it will be very good for all the audience. One thing you really want to share, something on defense, something on renewable energy, and something on hospitals. Just your final thoughts before we end the discussion. Your final thoughts on people what they should learn from defense, what is the future, whatever, in 1 minute. They should always remember, it's like the key takeaway from defense.
Okay, first and foremost, India is well on its path to become self-sufficient. The path is difficult, but it will happen. There's an opportunity, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a professional or an investor or an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur, there's an opportunity to contribute by doing something way more meaningful than a lot of other things we could be doing and making India truly Atmanirbhar. So there's a huge opportunity. Please study from your perspective. Please understand what you could possibly do. It's basically, as an investor, we say this, while we want to return money to our investors manyfold, we're doing it with a purpose, which is very, very gratifying. So I would want to leave you with that.
Thank you. Aditji, your final comments on renewable energy, your final thoughts for the audience.
Yeah, I would just like to say that, renewable energy is something which will definitely come in a big way in the next couple of years. That's the future, which everyone knows. But as an individual, all of us can be a contributor to that. We can be a prosumer, a producer and a consumer. So if each one of us can, set up a small solar plant within your premises or the rooftop, that will go a long way in meeting our energy targets in the next 5 years.
Thank you. Your final comments on hospital sectors.
I would want to reiterate on the fact that everyone should stay insured so that the out-of-pocket expenses is least and no criticism in terms of billings will eventually come from healthcare once you're mentally prepared. And second, I would say digitization in hospital has gone to such an extent that it has taken a lot of time for us to embrace digitization. We would also request customers, I won't say patients, to also accept digitization so that it becomes easier in terms of processes. So if I had seen 5 years back in healthcare, it was looking like, I was feeling like I was a monkey standing in the road with hands on the head. I had answers for all the questions at one point of time, but they have changed the question paper altogether. Now who's they? It is digitization. So how we have embraced digitization has gone up and come up in the next 5 years is so good that if you accept it today, it will become easier and it will ease the quality of service we provide to you. Like instead of standing in the queues, everyone stands in the queue in a cash counter for a billing and then stands in the queue to go to a doctor and meet. But there are apps in the mobile which someone can take, do an appointment booking in the mobile, pay online, come directly to the doctor's chamber, seek consultation, again book billing through the app, go directly, pay, and go directly into the investigation room, get the investigations done, get the reports uploaded in your mobile app. You don't have to carry those files and bags now, gone are those days. So I would request everyone to also embrace technology and follow it in every healthcare so that there is ease of service and you will always feel that the service you've got there vis-a-vis the money charged is absolutely appropriate. That is what is my comment.
Yes, you have a question. You have a question? Okay, one question. Can we allow one question in the interest of time? Yes, please.
All the three panelists are very much bullish on their independent domains. One is independent, very much bullish on the solar alternative energy. One is bullish on defense sectors. And third panelist is very much bullish on healthcare industry. So given a choice, as an investor, which sector we choose?
इसका आंसर मैं कर देता हूं. हम लोग को डाइवर्सिफाई करना चाहिए, राइट? तो तीनों सेक्टर में थोड़ा थोड़ा इन्वेस्ट कर दीजिए. So
hybrid option is the best option, sir. तीनों में invest कर दीजिए. That's the best thing.
So basically, Tarun ji, we have time for questions. We have to end because थोड़ा sir का permission नहीं है. We have to follow the head of the. So we want to end the thing. So final comments. Raji's final comment is that private sector is opening in defense. So let's invest, let's make India Atmanirbhar. That is the message from Raji. Adrit ji is saying very good. क्या हम लोग अपने घर में एक solar panel लगा सकते हैं? Can we become more, energy neutral? That is the message from him. And sir is saying, please insurance करके रखिए. That is what his message is. Am I correct, sir?
My only one question.
Can we have a big hand for all the panelists, please? Can we have a big hand for all the panelists?
My only one question, Mr. Pal Chaudhary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Offline ले लीजिए.
Only one question. In green energy storage के बारे में गवर्नमेंट की क्या पॉलिसी है प्रेजेंट में?
Green energy storage.
Yes.
Okay, Adrit ji.
अभी रिसेंट में मेरी समझ से ये बड़ा चैलेंजिंग इशू है कि स्टोरेज का गवर्नमेंट का क्या पॉलिसी है. ये जो बैटरी स्टोरेज चाहे सोलर एनर्जी हो चाहे हाइड्रोजन एनर्जी हो जो भी हो.
Sir, इसमें the battery storage is definitely a bit costly now, but if you see the recent bids which have been concluded, the price of power through battery along with battery energy storage has come down to almost 460 or 470, which is almost equal to a thermal power. So you have 24/7 power through batteries, which is comparable to a thermal power generation. So battery costs have come down. Earlier it was almost 8 or 9 rupees of tariff, but recent bids have shown that with improvement in battery technologies and the reduction in cost, the price of power has almost come to the levels of a thermal power, which is around 470 or 480. So I would say that they are technologically now mature enough to be competing with thermal power. But yeah, of course, if you look at the individual, the smaller houses and, smaller kilowatt capacity plants, they are still bit uneconomical with battery storage. So I would leave at that.
Thank you. Friends, in the interest of time, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you very much. Can we have a big hand for all the panelists? Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you very much.
A heartful thank to you to our wonderful moderator for steering today's discussion with such ease, insight, and just the right pinch of humor. To our esteemed panelists, your ideas lit up the room brighter than solar panels in India 2030. From healthcare to self-defense to renewable energy, you have given us not just knowledge, but also vision. And to everyone present, thank you for being part of this exciting journey. Together, we are building a future that is healthier, safer, and powered by the sun. Thank you.